white and milky.
You're white and milky too.
That is so gross, though. You don't like. Is that how you describe skin color, as milky?
That's how I imagine you and Jordan. Like, immediately when I picture you both, you're both like very pale and white in my head.
Like a glass of milk.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Apologetically Me. I'm Maggie.
I'm Wanda.
And we're here with another episode about race, preferences, crushes. But before we get started, Wanda, tell the people what you got going on.
So while I had a super busy week this week at work and I did a lot of overtime, that was cleared with my manager because we basically had to do something within 5 days that we normally do over a period of 7 days. And we had much less people working on it, I guess, than normal. And it was a lot of bigger of a task than normal, or at least like it felt like it. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the fact that Jordan recently, or yesterday, started saying that he wanted a new desk. And Prabby has this like massive desk where he fits like 3 monitors, his computer, everything. It's really nice. It's a standing desk as well. So Jordan's like, I want one. So he started looking up standing desks. And then I started looking up standing desks. And then he was like, you know what? After a couple of hours, he's like, I don't really want one. But I am in my shopping phase right now. So I found a desk that I really, really wanted. And it's not that expensive for a standing desk. Like, it's cheaper than the ones on IKEA. It fits all my requirements, specifically like the size, because I only have such a small area that I could like fit it into. So I'm like, okay, am I going to be a standing desk person? Am I actually going to use the standing part of it? Because I read in a study that sitting for long periods of time is equal to being like obese or like smoking your entire life. So now I'm like, oh my God, I need to stand more. But then they also say that it can be counteracted with physical activity of like 60 to 75 minutes of moderately intense activity. I'm like, is that every day that I'm sitting, or is that just like in like how many times a week? 60 to 75, or is it 60 to 75 total? So I don't know. I didn't dig that far into the rabbit hole, but I'm like, now I took the back off of my chair because originally my like chair had a back to be like, okay, can I use my chair as potentially like a stool when I do want to sit, but then stand every other time. So I'm kind of like trialing it out. And I really want the standing desk.
So, about that article you read, I vaguely remember reading about this too back in like my 4th year university, and it was something pushed by lobbyists who were trying to vote in favor of cigarettes. And they were saying like, cigarettes aren't that bad for you. How do you know that sitting actually doesn't cause all this cancer and obesity problems and all these like lung cancer stuff? It's actually sitting that's the problem. So I think that's what happened when I had read that research stuff. And I sure hope you don't disprove me. I guess it's too late because I already presented this to my class, but it's okay.
When you started that sentence, I was like, who the heck is lobbying
For cigarettes?
sitting? Or like, I was like, part of me was like, is it the standing desk lobbyists? Like, that's such a niche
so
like lobby. I'm like,
it's just the cigarettes people.
Why are they even? Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And that could be the case because I did maybe look at like 2 or 3 articles on this and I did not dig that much deeper because, like, I think in general, they just say that sitting isn't that good for you and you should not be so sedentary.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Okay. But yes, that is what I'm currently wrestling with now because once my mind is cleared of all that work, now I can think about the mundane
desk
stuff of exactly.
Will a standing desk fit in your work area? Like right now in your room?
Yes. So right now my desk is the biggest thing is kind of the depth. Right now I think it's like 19 or just like under 20 inches, and this desk is 24. So it'd be 4
Hmm.
inches wider, which would make the area a little bit more tight. But if I do spend most of my time standing and not sitting, it actually would give me more space.
Hmm.
Um, and then the desk right now I think is like 34 inches wide in length. And then the new one would be about 55, which
Hmm.
does still fit,
Mm-hmm.
which would give me desk space like
Mm-hmm.
horizontally and vertically and whatever. I don't know how to describe like uh dimensions out loud, but yeah, so it'd give me more space overall. And I was thinking about putting a nice little like whiteboard sticker on it so I can write down notes. Like if I
Cute.
need to do notes last minute, yeah, I know I could be like I could be like that girl.
Cute. I always think I'm gonna be that girl, and then sometimes I read back my writing and I'm like, ew, what was I saying?
Yeah, I mean, I could just type and I have just been typing,
Uh-huh. Me
but
too.
there's something satisfying with like crossing things off.
I agree. The
So,
productive girl in you.
exactly. So I'm currently struggling with that.
These are good struggles to have.
So, what's your update this week?
My update is my poor dog, Jackie, had gotten into something and he had such a bad stomach ache. And he did warn us all day. Okay, so his first thing, wait, let me backtrack. I was worried that it was because I had given him a small piece of smoked salmon, and then I had Googled it, and smoked salmon is not good for dogs. So that I was freaking out, and this only happened after Jackie had already thrown up. So first, he came back from the gym, Jackie threw up, and I was like, oh no, is it getting too cold for him, or is he too hot? And then he starts like panting and whining like crazy, and we're like, oh my god, okay, we'll take him out. But then me and Nick were like, after the gym, we're kind of like slow, and we're like, okay, like we're going, but we're like still taking our sweet ass time. And then poor Jackie, he warned us. He pooped right in the middle of our condo, and this is the second time this has happened. It's a once a year thing, and we're like, that one was our fault. He warned us. So then Nick took him out. I cleaned it up, um, and then afterwards, it like he didn't go throughout the night. He went at like I woke up at 7 a.m. Now I know like his telltale signs are him panting, him just staring at us while we sleep, kind of like hovering over us a little bit, which is kind of funny. And then he has this like morning dentist stick, and if he refuses that snack, we know something's wrong. And when he tries to follow us into the bathroom. So those four things, I think. So those are kind of like the signs that you know something's wrong and that he really needs to urgently go. So 8 a.m. took him out. 8 or 7 a.m. I forget what I said. And yeah, took him out. And then that was just kind of like on a every 2-3 hour basis, those signs kept coming up. So we're like, okay, keep taking him out. Poor guy. It's just water coming out of him basically. And then it continued into the nighttime. He was like kind of recovering. He seemed like he had his energy back. He was eating and everything. We're like, cool, don't need to go to the vet and spend hundreds of dollars. Then the next morning, actually, no, throughout the night, we went to bed at around 2 a.m. And then 4 a.m., I hear him panting. And I wake up, take him out. And then again, 6 a.m. Actually, 4 a.m., I should really shout out to Nick because I am afraid of going out that late at night. So I woke Nick up, and then Nick, without any questions, without giving me any sass, just like took Jackie. I gave him his pants, and then he just like went out the door. And then that's when we were talking about like, oh my god, was it the smoked salmon? Was it the fried chicken we gave him? We could only give him like little pieces here and there. And yeah, and then 6 a.m. and then 9 a.m. I took him out again. So then we took him to the vet, got him all his pills and stuff. He's fixed, but for now he cannot eat any of his snacks. He must eat his dog food, and his prescribed dog food is $5 a can. And we were like, let's just take the 2 cans. It's not like he doesn't need it. Like he only threw up the one time. They're like, if it was a consistent thing, then we'd recommend more, but it's fine. So now Jackie refuses to eat his normal food. He is obsessed with that $5 a can food that we cannot afford. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, he's done. He's done his stomach problems. Our boy is saved. We have scheduled his neutering as well because it was pretty cheap through the vet. So That's my dog mom update.
Okay. So, questions.
Yes.
Was it the salmon or the fried chicken that you fed him?
I did ask the vet about the smoked salmon because I was like, "Oh my god, I have a theory, doctor, that it's the smoked salmon I gave him." And she was like, "Why is that bad?" And I was like, "Well, I googled it and it says that he could get worms or something from eating smoked salmon." And she was like, "No, unless you're giving him like a huge amount, that's fine." And I was like, "Phew, okay." And then I was going to bring up the fried chicken, but then I was like, ugh, maybe not. I don't know why. I was just like, oh man, she's gonna think I'm an awful dog mom for giving my son some smoked salmon and some pieces of chicken skin because I don't like eating the chicken skin.
Second thing is, why not take him out to the balcony?
To poop on the balcony?
I don't like, do you not have like a thing on the balcony that you like for emergency type of things?
No, he's like pretty good. Like I think
Okay.
the longest he's held it is like 24 hours. Like he's like a very like clean, like well trained dog. Does not pee poo anywhere. Also, our condo does not
Hmm.
permit that. They're like, do not let your dog go out there. And we have like they're like little bricks, so there's like little spaces in between. So I feel like cleaning that would be even worse than cleaning it if it was on like normal floors.
Yeah, gross.
Very gross.
Um, okay, question three. Why do you think, or like, why were you expecting Nick to give you sass for waking him up at 4 a.m. when it's both of your dogs, primarily his?
Oh, mostly because I feel like if no, some context, when Nick wakes me up from my nap, I'm very cranky, and in that moment, I think he's the worst person in the world. So overall, I give him kind of attitude and sass when I wake up. So I'm very shocked that he didn't give me attitude and sass.
Okay, that is fair. But also, if Nick woke you up because Jackie had shit all over the floor, for example, do you think that you would give him sass?
I think I might be like kind of cranky.
Hmm.
I'm like,
Okay,
hey, you could
that's
have
fair.
just cleaned this up.
And my last and final question is, why did you end up going home
Oh, for the Friday?
when, yes,
Yeah,
when Nick could have taken care of it?
it was because the week before my brother had asked for the Friday off, and I said, yeah, no problem. Um, so I had already promised him. He had already had his plans. There was no way to contact him. So I was like, I'll just go home the Friday and work, and then I'll come back.
No, but I meant like, why didn't you just let Nick take care of Jackie
Oh,
for the
because
weekend?
so my reasoning was like Nick would have to take care of him Friday night and Saturday night. And because I'm a light sleeper, I'm worried that like Nick might sleep through it and like he'd have to clean it up, which is like it's no big deal, but it's like it would be every 2 hours kind of thing. So I would be happily sleeping for the next like 48 hours, and then Nick would have like an awful 48 hours. So I felt bad about that. So at least we could like share the pain a little bit.
I have one more question. Sorry.
Okay.
So, if you guys had a child, would you rather you both suffered, or would you rather one of you had a 48 hours of good sleep?
Um, this depends. How recent did I have the child?
How old, Jackie?
3.
Let's say the child is 3 months old.
3 months old? Ooh. At that point, I almost want us both to. I don't know. 3 months is still pretty recent. Then I'd be like, hey, I did all the work. You should at least help out a little bit.
So then you would prefer if only one of you suffered.
No, I kind of want us both to suffer. I guess it's like misery.
Why?
I think it's like a misery loves company. Camaraderie ship, you
Okay.
know? I
Okay,
I think that I
interesting.
think that's what I would want. I know, like, so we went to this like comedian, and he was like joking about it, and he was like, I get up through the night, so I let my wife sleep, and then he's like, when I walk in the room, my baby like, he's like looks pretty pissed off. He's like, I obviously you already know who I want. Like, what are you gonna do? So the dad is like still trying to comfort him, like, and he's like, it's not the same as the mom, I'm sure, because the baby just like likes the mom more. But he's like, you know what, I have to try, which I think is fair. And Nick brought that up too, and he was like, the baby will not want my milk. It will only want the mother's milk. And I was like, you do not have milk.
There's actually like contraptions out there where you can put like baby bottles inside of like this like bra thing. It's for like men or like people who just don't produce milk to simulate that of like drinking milk out of a breast. So
Kind of
it is a
weird.
thing that exists.
Kind of weird. I mean, no,
Okay,
no
I'm
judgment to anyone who uses it, but I don't think Nick will want that. I think he's okay with a bottle.
but like, if that's the thing that stops the baby from crying, never say
Yeah,
never.
you never know. Yeah, you're right. Until we have a baby.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny because I've been eating a lot of deli meat recently. And every time I eat deli meat, I remember the fact that pregnant women can't eat deli meat. And I
Mm,
know that you're also eating some turkey recently.
mm-hmm.
So every time I get deli meat, I don't know why I think about this, but I'm like, wow, everything that Maggie really is enjoying recently, she cannot have if she ever gets
Yep.
pregnant.
Yep. Right after this, I'm about to go buy some deli meat and I might have some sushi for dinner. So these are all the things a pregnant woman cannot eat. And my coffee as well. No
Yeah, how
caffeine.
are you going to survive?
I honestly do not know. I am very scared. And I told Nick he's not allowed to eat any of those things while I'm pregnant either. Like he
Yeah,
can,
but
just
like,
like not near me.
but also he doesn't love that stuff as much as you do. Like you eat it like 8 times a week.
Why
You
are you
like it
saying I
that
eat
much.
deli meats 8 times a week? I
It's
would
mostly
say,
sushi. I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah, mostly sushi, but I would say Nick eats deli meat more than me. So that would be like his sad part.
Oh my god, him going to the grocery store by himself, eating
Eating
the deli
deli
meat
meats?
before he gets home.
I remember the first time I discovered like Genoa salami or like some type of hot salami, and my brother
Hmm.
like and Hugh, like my older brother, he would give it to me and like this bag and was like, my student eats this by like the day, like he just eats so much of it. And Hugh was like, I picked some up to try it and it's like pretty good, I got you a bag too. So then I remember
Oh,
so vividly on the bus ride home, me and Sally were so hungry and I took out the salami from my bag and we just be like going feral and like eating salami in the back of the bus.
that's really interesting because to this day, I'm pretty sure Sally still likes that type of salami.
Yeah, she does.
Wow, with a core
I know.
memory.
Core salami memory.
Yeah. But like the salami is like not cheap. Like I recently found out that deli meat is like very expensive. So the fact that that kid ate deli meat
I
by the bag,
he tutors like rich kids.
rich.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, like,
I
come
know, by
on,
the
like this kid is
day.
like,
Like also that's not good for you. Like that's the thing that will lead to like obesity, cancer, all that stuff.
yeah. I mean, like some deli meats I think are okay, but like salami is not. It is quite a fatty
Mm-hmm.
meat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
what's your beef or crush of the week?
So my beef of the week is not exactly Nick, but it has to do with a snap that I received from Maggie, where Nick was eating a fruit roll up because when he was younger, apparently his mom didn't let him have like a lot of the snacks from when we were younger. So one of the things that was brought up during that conversation was Dunkaroos. And Dunkaroos recently have come back to Canada because nostalgia baiting is really hard, is really popular right now. And they used to be like $2 per container, like $2 or $3 per like a single Dunkaroos container. And that is absolutely insane. I would never pay that amount of money. And now they come in boxes, like back like they did in like the early 2000s when we were kids. So I was like, holy shit, there's the chocolate one. I'm going to go buy it. So I bought it yesterday. It was like $6 for six, which is still kind of pricey when they used to be so cheap back in the day, but I wanted to try it to see if it still was the same. I opened it up. The chocolate frosting, still very good. The cookies are absolute shit. I cannot tell you how bad those cookies are. Like, the fact that you dip them in chocolate frosting is still somehow not enough to counteract how terrible those cookies taste. They taste nothing like the original. I'm pretty sure it used to be like a graham cracker type of cookie as well. And if you got the chocolate one, I think there was like chocolate bits in it or something. It was excellent, even though I know a lot of people like the vanilla sprinkle frosting version way better, but I'm a chocolate gal. So now I'm contemplating just getting a bucket of Betty Crocker frosting and some honey grams or some graham crackers and just eating it that way. I think it's cheaper actually. So for anyone looking to buy Dunkaroos, don't do it.
Is the Dunkaroo frosting the same as Betty Crocker?
I'm pretty sure because I just saw in the box that it was made by Betty Crocker.
Oh shit.
So why would they not kind of just reuse the same
Hmm.
frosting, right? It's like what is that chocolate? The one with the hazelnut in it.
Nutella?
Yes, Nutella, but Ferrero Rocher. So Ferrero Rocher and Nutella are the same company, and if you actually like open up a Ferrero Rocher, there's like a hazelnut chocolatey thing in it, and that is Nutella.
No way. Huh. No wonder it tastes so
Yeah.
familiar. Man, I love Nutella.
Yeah. Mm.
Hmm. That's so interesting. Um, what does the cookie taste like now for Dunkaroos?
Cardboard.
Yeah, really? Gross.
Yeah.
Why
I
would they
will
do
save you
that?
one
Ew. Okay, I'll bring you fruit
if
roll-ups.
we Okay, I do not want a fruit roll
Me
up.
neither. I want to get rid of them.
I do not want the fruit. At least the chocolate frosting has is somewhat redeemable, but like fruit roll-ups are like wait, do they taste the same as you remember them to from your childhood?
I think so. Like, I didn't like them from my childhood because they were so sticky in my mouth and like they'd stick to everything. So yeah, same.
I can't believe you didn't even get the blue kind.
I don't think they had the blue kind.
Sad.
Yeah.
Understandable. Yeah. Cuz I think some things are just like, oh, like your taste buds have changed since you were a child and you just don't kind of like enjoy it as much. This is like Dunkaroos are not that situation. They've completely changed the cookie recipe. It is very different.
That's so
And
sad.
yeah, do not get them.
Wow.
Just get a thing of frosting from Betty Crocker and get some gold like cookies or like graham crackers or something, Teddy Grahams, whatever, and then just dip it in and go nuts.
Something about that is, for some reason, more depressing than getting Dunkaroos. I don't know why. It's just the image of buying a box of crackers and icing and just eating it sounds like a depression meal.
But it's literally just Dunkaroo. I
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
portion them out for you,
Thank
and
you.
that way.
That's what I need. Just portioned out. But if you just let me go crazy, yeah, then that becomes a depression meal.
Yeah. I think it's the whole like you're an adult and you can now do anything. And apparently, the thing that I want to do now is buy a bucket of frosting.
Yes, realizing you have free will as an adult.
Yeah. But also realizing that you probably should not do that as an
Mm-hmm.
adult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I remember buying the fruit roll-ups and thinking he's gonna hate this. I know exactly what kind of candies he likes, and he does not like that kind of stuff. And I told him not to get fruit gushers, and now he's determined to try fruit gushers. I didn't like
I
them.
I would have chose Gushers over Fruit Roll-Ups. I don't love Fruit Gushers either. I think Scooby Doo Blue snack candies
Yes.
are the superior like fruit candy.
I don't think they sell only blue candies though. I think you have to buy
You
them
do
in a
not,
pack.
but I always
Yeah, you only pick out the blue ones. That's so funny.
but like how I would used to eat them is I would like eat all the other colors and then save all the blue ones for last.
That's so funny. I think I would share with my brother, so then I would try to go for the blue ones, and then I'd leave him like the other
Mm.
colors, and he'd be like, "What the hell? The good ones are gone."
I'm glad this is like a shared experience of the blue ones are the best.
Yeah. Did your parents let you buy a lot of like snacks too as a kid?
It was it depends. Like I don't think my parents let me buy a lot, but there was times where like I would really want like a snack or something and they would kind of just buy it so like I could take with me to like lunch or whatever. Um but on the flip side of that, my dad never really let me have white bread
Hmm,
because he was like, no, brown bread is so much better. White bread isn't good for you and all that stuff. So he let me have Dunkaroos, but he didn't let me have white bread.
that's
So
so
very
funny.
interesting
You really
contrast.
gotta pick and choose your battles.
Yeah.
White
What
bread
about
is one
you?
of them.
Yeah.
Um, I was asking like my younger brother about it because I was like, I can't see like mom letting us buy so many snacks, but I already know I've tried all of these. Like I don't know why.
Hmm.
And Nikki was like, "Oh, it's because Hugh took us grocery shopping." And remember that one
Oh,
time like Hugh let us buy whatever we wanted and it was all snacks and mom got so mad at him and yelled at him for so long because he didn't buy any lunch stuff for us. It was just all snacks. And I was like, this is not something I remember, but it sounds like something Hugh would do."
that is so sweet. And it's like moments like this where it's like, oh,
An older brother. But like looking back, it's like, why didn't you buy us any like lunch stuff? Like she gave you money and was like, buy them what they need. And he was like, all snacks, no lunch.
how old was he?
Probably in high school.
Okay, like imagine if you were in high school, like you were 15, 16 years old, probably like 16 because you could drive. But let's say you're 16 years old and you took out your little siblings to go buy lunch stuff. Would you not let them just like go nuts and buy snack food because they never get a chance to eat snack food at home?
I want to clarify that when my brother was 16, I was probably 7 years old. So I feel like I would have been responsible because I can imagine like taking my nephews out and being like, okay, you have to eat your fruits and veggies and like eat some actual food. You can't just eat gummies all the time. So
At
I
16?
think at 16, yeah.
Mm.
I just feel like at when your siblings are 7 and 5 years old, you kind of need them to be not relying on snacks for nourishment.
Yeah. Still, it created a memory where you got to try a bunch of snacks that you didn't otherwise get to try.
Yeah, thanks, Hugh. I don't remember it, but thanks, Hugh.
Anyways, what's your beef or crush of the week?
My crush slash almost a beef is the Rare Beauty lip oil from Selena Gomez. Um, I think feel like it's been blown up on TikTok for a long time, and I did so much research into it because the Sephora sale's going on, and I was like, "Ooh, let's try something cool out. Let's try something new." And this has been raved about on TikTok, and I've seen everyone with the same kind of skin tone as me try on different colors. I chose the one I liked, and then as soon as I saw a different review, and they were like, actually, the color you chose, Maggie, is not that great. Here's another one. And I tried to go buy it, and it's sold out everywhere. Every time I try to check back now in Sephora, it's sold out. So I'm like, at least I got one to try. That's good. But yes, it's good so far. It's not really a lip oil. It's kind of like, I don't even know what's the right thing for it, but it's like nice. It's very subtle. Right now, if you're seeing me on video, it does look a little bit dark. I feel like it doesn't look like this in person. Um, but it's supposed to last all day long while you eat, drink. It did not last after my brunch. I feel like I went back to my normal lip color. So it's bordering beef, but right now it's a crush because I'm obsessed with the packaging and it just looks so cute. So right now it's a crush, but it could be a beef. That's it. That's my beef or crush. And also, I guess my crush is Nick for, again, not being sassy and giving me attitude when I woke him up at 4 a.m.
The bare minimum.
I know, but it's just like when you live also with your family too. Like anytime I woke them up for
Mm.
any reason, like I just feel like they gave me so much attitude, and I'm like, wow, it's so nice not to have anyone give you lip back.
Yeah, I remember this because when my cousin lived with us, he would also always like dribble pee around the toilet, and it
Ew.
would make the bathroom smell really bad. So then when I started living with Jordan, I was like, I am so thankful that you do not dribble pee everywhere when you go to the bathroom, which is like such a basic
Mm-hmm.
thing, but it really made me appreciate him. So I understand.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I think living with your family and then going to live with just one person who, respects you, loves you, and like wants to do things that like make you happy and not dribble pee around the toilet seat. Yeah, really makes you appreciate things.
Not the toilet seat. around the tile floor of the
I
toilet.
just feel like that's so targeted. Like it feels like a
Yeah,
hate crime
I
when you do that. Like why?
agreed.
Yeah, that's horrifying. Although I think I so we were watching like some show or something where this girl was like, "Yeah, I trained my boyfriend to like sit down while he pees." And I was like, "Honestly, that's goals." And Nick was like, "What? Why would you want me to like sit down and pee?" And I was like, "Well, not to be TMI and expose my brother, but he now pees sitting down because he's like, it's just cleaner that way. He understands living with like a bunch of girls in the house. Like they prefer to have like the toilet seat down and everything. So he understands." And I was like, Nick, you could do this too. Not that he's like a messy peer, but I'm just like, I see his point. It's cleaner.
Yeah. Jordan does it.
He pees sitting down.
Hmm.
You see, I respect that.
Yeah. Because it's like, it also saves like a bunch of steps because it's like, oh, now you don't have to put the toilet seat down
Yeah,
when,
exactly.
or up, or like, it just like, it saves process time there. It's like, generally, there's no, as like, less splashing that gets like
Mm-hmm.
everywhere around the bathroom, like, targets as you, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, then you can also do other things while you pee, like scrolling on Reddit.
How long does he pee for?
It's
um,
sometimes he's just like
it's an
in there
excuse.
for a bit.
It's an
Yeah.
excuse. Yeah, that's funny. I like even putting the toilet seat up or down or stuff. I like even though it's in my own home, I'm still like, ew, I don't want to touch the toilet seat. Gross.
Yeah. I have that too. And sometimes in the middle of the night, I don't look because I'm just so tired. And there has been times where I've almost fallen into the
Oh
toilet
my
because someone
god.
forgot to put, not like recently, when I think it was
Yeah.
like when I was younger, and I like almost fell in and I was like, ew, this is disgusting and I hate this
Uh,
and it's 3 a.m.
mm, I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's happened to me, but I can picture it so vividly in my head that I'm like, I feel like this happened to me. Like the idea of that
Well,
haunts me.
that's interesting. Maybe it's just like a shared experience that like females go through.
Like, to be a female.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our topic race, preferences. Um, Disclaimer, please do not cancel us. This is just our opinions.
That's so funny. I was going to also add that disclaimer too, because I feel like this is like a very sensitive topic to talk about for some reason, even though it shouldn't be, as long as you're not being racist.
Yeah. But then, like, is that argument also racist? Being like, I only prefer to date this race?
Well, I guess how is that any different than saying I only prefer to date people with dark hair
Yeah.
or
Mm hmm.
certain features
Yeah.
I'm more attracted to than others?
That's a good point, too. I just feel like it's kind of weird to rule out people for like, you have blonde hair, not dating you. Like, it seems so, like, arbitrary, you know? Like, they could just dye their hair, then you're gonna like them more. Like, it just seems so weird.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. But like, what about like height, right? Like, you can't really grow or shrink
Mm,
anymore.
yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just kind of like you can have your own preferences. And then if you end up dating someone who doesn't meet those preferences, that's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's like the difference. And I was watching this video on YouTube. I forget what it was. It was either like a nectar or a cut or a jubilee, like one of
One of
those types of
those.
videos. Yeah. And it was someone saying that it's okay to have a preference, but it's not okay to have like a requirement. Like, I will never ever date someone who is Asian, for example. Like, I would never, I guess, limit myself like that. And I
Mm,
feel like having like a requirement, like, no, I only can date white people or I can only date like certain races,
mm-hmm.
makes it feel more racist than anything.
Ah, so like Canada labor laws for a job posting. You can't, like, I think it's like a legal thing, right? You can't say, like, you have to be Chinese to apply. Like, you have to be a woman or something like that, right?
Yes, I there was like a job posting that came out that was like requirements don't include this in the job posting, but it was like has to be native, aka white or something, has to be like young within their 20s or
Oh
something. It was like this
my.
like yeah, it was like this company that was, I guess, hired like a HR recruiting company, and like the recruiting company or like someone internally just posted the actual requirements that they were looking for in the job,
That's
and there was
funny.
like a lot of, yeah.
Hmm. Um, I don't know what to ask. What are your preferences? Actually, I'll let you ask the questions.
I I guess it's fine. Like I can tell you my preferences. I know. Okay, so basically, I've been thinking about this a lot recently because we did that episode a few weeks ago where I kind of made that joke where I said that Jordan wasn't worried because all of my friends were Asian guys. So it was like, oh, that's not really my type. And for some reason, my mom also knows that, because kind of a side story, but she has a coworker who's been trying to set up her son with someone because her son can't seem to get a girlfriend or something, and she's like talking about how like successful he is and how like tall he is and all these things, and he has his own house, whatever, blah blah blah. And my mom's like, do you have any friends that could potentially like might want to be looking for this type of guy? And I was like, no, I don't think any of my friends would want to date someone whose mom was trying to set them up. Like, I feel like that's
Oh.
kind of an ick. And I don't know if it was he knows that this is happening or if his mom has just taken it upon herself to try to pimp out her son, I guess. But I asked, "Oh, why didn't you suggest me?" like or something, right? And she's like, "Oh, because I know that like you don't like Asian guys." And I was like, "Know what I did to you to make you think that?" Because I guess like the people that I've introduced to her have all been white, but that's just kind of recent, even though it's been 7 years. But it's like 8 years. 8 years of white guys. Ooh. Doesn't mean I have a requirement or I think it's like my preference is usually people like it's usually white guys, and I think I find white guys more attractive, but that doesn't mean that I don't or I wouldn't date like other races as well, and
Mhm.
I don't find other races attractive. I have in the past dated other races. The relationship just didn't end up working out, not because they were not white, but for a multitude of other reasons. And so I guess just recent track record makes it seem that I only date white men.
Yeah. I think that's a really good um addendum you made that like, you know, just because you have a preference doesn't mean like you will never date them kind of thing. You won't rule them out.
Yeah. And like I'm not going to see someone on the street and be like, "Oh, this man's so attractive, but he's Asian." So like there's never a chance
Yeah.
that
Yeah. And I guess like the lines have always been kind of blurred for me. So like in the past I always thought like if you said you would never date an Asian or like you just don't find Asian guys attractive. Wait, I forget what it is. One of them is like it's like you prefer to date Asian girls or something. And then one of them is like I just will not date Asian girls. Like I don't find them attractive, that kind of thing. And I always like found them to be overlapping. Like I thought them to be the same thing. That's why I was like I feel like it's wrong to have like race preferences, like that kind of thing because it's like ruling out an entire race. You're saying like they're just not attracted to me, they're ugly, and I just remember like so clearly like growing up and in university too, this happened where people would like come up to me and they just like say out of the blue, like, I just don't find Asian girls attractive. Like, sorry, I'm ugly. Like, you don't need to say that to me.
Sorry, how did this conversation go?
I don't know. Like literally, I remember so clearly. It was like one of our mutual friends had like another friend from high school, and then our mutual friend was like, "Oh, tell Maggie what you just told me." And the guy was like, "I just don't find Asian girls attractive. Like I would never date an Asian girl." And I was like, "Okay, well, we don't want to date you either." Like, what? Like I that just felt like so random. And then yeah, I just felt like and because of that, I just felt like anytime someone said I have a preference for Asian girls or like I don't have a preference or like I prefer not to date Asian girls, I always found that to be like racist because in that moment I felt like that was racist towards me almost. On behalf of all Asian girls, I felt attacked for them.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because it's like what were they talking about? Like the mutual friend and this other
I
person. Like what were they
don't even
talking about
know.
to
I just walked in the room and they said that to me, and I was like, why did I just come in to be like attacked?
You caught a stray.
Yeah.
What was the race of the guy that said that to you?
um, Arab, Egyptian.
Okay. Not that I guess it would be any better if they were Asian or they were like another race. I don't know. I was just curious, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That I'm sorry that has happened to you and I fully
Thank you.
understand. And I think a lot of people are the same way because it's like it's such a like a touchy subject almost that like you don't really just like kind of talk about it in detail. And when you start talking about it in more depth and more detail, you start to sometimes just like stick your foot in your mouth. Like the more
Yeah.
you talk about it, the more something might come out, and the more people are like, "Ooh, maybe she
Mm-hmm.
is racist,
Yeah.
or they are racist."
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm always afraid of being canceled.
Yeah. Before we started, Maggie asked me, "What did you want to talk about this week?" And I listed two different things. And when I listed this one, she was like we're probably gonna get canceled for this. Like, can we actually do this?"
Because once again, the lines are always blurred.
Yes, and I think that's true. And
Yeah.
the best part about a podcast, or at least this podcast, is that we do edit afterwards. So if we do say anything racist, we can always just cut it out. What is, I guess, your preference? Or do you have a preference?
um, yeah, I think my preference tends to be kind of like taller white guys who are a little bit nerdy, brunette. Not that I have not found other races attractive, but yeah, I think I always tend to swipe right on people who are like conventionally attractive.
Interesting. What would you define as conventionally attractive?
I don't know. I just think like the guys, um, oh man, this is bad.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I just think like the guys who just like they look like very photogenic in their pictures, and I don't know. Like to me, like okay, maybe it's like my main character coming out, but when I find a guy attractive, I'm like, oh my god, they're conventionally attractive. Everyone thinks they're attractive, and I swipe. So maybe it's just like my main character coming out.
Would you say there's like a particular race where when you say conventionally attractive, that tends to like men tend to fall into that particular race?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm not going to make you answer that, but I think that's an interesting point of
um.
like
Yeah. Well, no, I feel like conventionally attractive applies to every race, you know? Like, I
for
think it's
you.
like a good bone structure, a nice smile, kind of tall, and then like darker hair. I think like that's like my definition of conventional is.
Okay, that's kind of how do you tell when someone's tall in a
I just have to
picture?
rely on their like self-disclaimed height.
Hmm, okay, I see. Well, if that's conventional. Do you think Bill Hader is conventionally attractive?
Bill Hader. No. I'm just
Okay,
really attracted
just
to him.
wondering.
Like
Just
I
curious.
just know objectively when guys are not attractive, but I still have like a very strong attraction to them, like Bill Hader. Which is funny because I saw like Bill Hader and Ali Wong like are dating now, and I was saying to Nick like, "Oh my god, she's living my dream," and he was like, "What? Like this guy?"
Arguably, she is much more attractive than he is.
Debatable. No offense to Ali Wong at all, but I just like love Bill Hader. I just think he's so attractive.
Have you watched Barry?
Yeah, I'm watching season 4 right
Okay.
now.
Okay. And when you see Bill Hader as Barry, does that ever change your
Listen,
perception of
you
him?
separate the character from the person, okay? I love Bill Hader, not Barry.
Okay, but it's hard though when you see someone that you like being
Yeah,
a sociopath.
yeah. It's like, and he's in that acting class. I'm just like, what is this like 50-year-old man doing with all these like young, hot LA people?
That's very interesting. And where do you think that? your type or preference might have come from.
For sure, growing up in a very white city. I think it's just like, I mean, we've talked about it before in the podcast, but it was like, you grow up, you're the only Asian person. Everyone around you is white. Everyone around you like has a crush on like a certain like white boy. And then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, so this is like what the standard for like attractiveness is, or like this is like what a good-looking person is." And then I think it's like over time, like you start to have a crush on the same people. I know this is probably not universal to everyone, but I know like you and me, we tend to gravitate towards white people, white guys. And even my friend Jen, like she's dating now too, and it's interesting because like she's been going out with, it's like a mix of Asian guys and white guys. Not to go off topic, um, but she recently went on a date with an Asian guy, and he immigrated to Canada when he was 4 years old. He was telling her about all these things like he's never gone like golfing, skiing, like he hasn't done all these sports and stuff. And when she mentioned she has, he was like, "Oh, you're pretty whitewashed." And he was like, he gets along more with like international students because they have like a shared experience, shared upbringing. And like in the back of my head, I'm like, he came here when he's 4 years old. How can he remember anything from China? Um, but like I was telling her too, and her parents said something similar, where like because we're too like whitewashed, like we this is why we can't go after Asian guys, or like we're not attracted to Asian guys because we don't have that shared experience for some reason. Like we don't have that. I guess because we're second gen, whatever it is, where our parents are immigrants and we were born raised here, but we have that mindset of privileged, according to my mom, that we don't have that Asian grind. I don't know what it is, but it's like that third world country mentality. And then my mom was like, I could never see you dating like an Asian. The only way you would date an Asian guy was if he was whitewashed like you. Which I find kind of offensive, but I understood.
Yes. I also kind of I yeah, it's very interesting where it's like I came here when I was like 3.5, like I was almost 4, and I did go
Hmm.
back for a couple of years, but I still wouldn't say like I connect more with like international students and stuff. So I do wonder what like his upbringing was like, such that he's like that. I mean, it could be just he grew up in a predominantly like multiracial community. Like if
Mm-hmm.
he grew up, because like there's definitely like places where it's like everyone you see is like Asian, or like everyone you
Mm-hmm.
see is non-white, because like even in like the outskirts of Toronto, like there's areas where it's like Markham is, and like Richmond Hill is like very Asian. Like you probably
Mm-hmm.
see more Asian people in those areas than you do white people,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's somewhere in Canada and in Ontario.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's partly the people that you grew up with and around, and you kind of just like, I guess, adapt to, I don't know, make friends,
Mm-hmm.
um, be similar to the people around you. You want to be part of the in group, but also like media when we were younger were so white. Like there was never like a person of color
Mm-hmm.
in anything
Yeah, it's a good
unless they were
point.
like a side character. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the first crushes I ever had for like a celebrity was like Jesse McCartney. Or like what was the other one? He also looked like Jesse, like Carter or something.
Aaron Carter from
Aaron
Backstreet
Carter, yeah.
Boys. Yeah.
Yeah. Was he from Backstreet Boys?
Wait,
No, he
Nick
was the
Carter?
brother.
Yeah, Nick
Nick
Carter. Nick Carter was one
Nick
I had a
Carter.
huge crush on. Yeah.
Oh, I had, let me, the one that died.
Oh, that's Aaron Carter. That's his brother. Yeah.
Yes. I had a crush on Aaron Carter and I had a crush on Jesse McCartney, and I remember those two being like my
Blonde.
very first crushes. Okay, but
It's funny that Jordan is blonde.
yeah. Also, Jordan is not, I would say, like what I would say my typical type is, which is usually brunettes. I don't know if that's like
But your first celebrity crushes. You think Jordan's a celebrity?
yeah. I I guess that's interesting. But yeah, media, upbringing, want to be part of the in group and everything like that. And the whole like your mom saying that she could only see you with like an Asian guy if they were also whitewashed. I think you would have trouble getting along with someone with like an Asian guy or like an any type of guy that was not quote unquote like whitewashed because you don't have the shared experience of integrating into white society. Is that a
Yeah.
weird thing to say?
Well, so like growing up though, like we always knew that we weren't white. And like for
Mm-hmm.
me, for a long time, that was my biggest hurdle. That I was like, why am I not white and attractive? And then I remember when I came to high school, that was like where I found so many like Asian people. And I was like, oh my God, I need to find an Asian guy now to like. And then I remember there was only one kind of cute guy at our high school. And then he just was like such a dick. And he was like, all these Asian girls like me. And I'm like, fuck, he's the only like Asian guy in our school. Okay, not the only, but he's the only kind of cute Asian guy at our school. Like, of course he's gonna think all these girls like him. And then yeah, I wasn't even sure if like I actually liked him or if I liked him because he was the first attractive Asian guy I saw. So I don't know.
What I was going to say was like if you said a different name of someone who is our age, I think a lot of the Asian girls in our year did have a crush on the Asian guys in our year.
Mm, yeah, I was personally not attracted to them or their personality
One of them, I think, had a relatively okay personality in comparison to the rest of them.
because they hung out together. I got them all mixed up. Not race wise. I was just
Wow,
like,
that's racist.
no, not because of that, but I just like, oh, they all hang out together. That means they all have shitty personalities.
Like, it's weird because, like, even in high school, I don't think I was like attracted to them at all, but maybe it was just like I know they're not attracted to me, so I'm not attracted to them
Yeah,
because I'm not usually what, and I'm like generalizing here, what like Asian men look for. And
yeah,
so I kind of just like was like, well, I know they're not going to be attracted to me. I'm not going to be attracted to them kind of thing. So I never really liked them. Plus I was like, oh, all the other girls, all the other Asian girls that like we were friends with like thought they were cute and things like that. And so I was like, I'm not going to get into this.
yeah. I think that's another thing too. Like maybe it's like a generalization, but but yeah, I think like I for sure was not like skinny, feminine, um, I don't know, pale. I don't know what actually Asian guys look for, but you're right. Like I feel like I ruled myself out because I'm like, oh, I don't like these Asian guys. I just feel like I'm also not their type. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if that's a racist thing, but I've just felt like like even my whole life, like I've never felt like an Asian guy has really expressed interest in me. Like we've always been friends, and they've always gone after like my other friends who have like fit the I don't know, the stereotype of what an Asian guy wants in an Asian girl.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's also kind of interesting where it's like if you are whitewashed and you meet another Asian guy who's whitewashed, is there some kind of like the whitewashed Asian guy might go for the like white girl because as you are
Mm.
the whitewashed Asian girl, you might go for the white guy.
Yeah, is it like I don't know, like remember that happened with Shake and Deepti on Love is Blind? And they were both like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
usually date white guys, I usually date white girls. Then they tried to
Mm-hmm.
match up, but then he just wasn't attracted to her. So
Yeah.
I I don't know, like on TikTok too, like there's this thing where it's like internalized racism a little bit, and every time I see that pop up, I get kind of offended because I'm like I'm not racist to any myself or like my family or anyone who's Asian. Like this is just my preference, and then like they always talk about how Asian girls are always dating white guys, and then another thing was like it's like this these girls being like, "Oh, my life was like so much harder when I dated a white guy. Now I'm dating an Asian guy and everything is right again." Or like I just feel like my needs and my wants and stuff are all met. And I'm like, part of me is like this feels like weird. Like it feels like almost racist in its own way where it's like why do Asian girls have to date Asian guys? Like that's great that you two found each other or whatever, but I feel like that's a weird generalization to be like Asian girls should only date Asian guys. And how come it's always picked on that Asian girls date a white guy? Why can't Asian girls just do whatever they want?
Yeah. It's weird because it could just been the white guy or the white guys that she's dated wasn't the right fit for her and the one
Exactly.
Asian guy that she did date was the right fit, but it really didn't really have anything to do with race. But I do, as a caveat, know that like shared experiences are like a good thing, like a good foundation to have. Like if like the shared experiences of being black. Like I would never understand what it's like to be black or to grow up black. And it's like I think I would have to be educated on a lot of things in relation to that. But I'd be like willing to learn, and I think that's something that's like very important. And I do there are definitely times where I find it difficult, or not like I wouldn't say difficult, but I do have times where I talk to Jordan about like things that have happened in my childhood or the things that my parents are like did or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, like I don't really understand that because this is what my childhood was like." And he can empathize, but he never really fully knows because he didn't live that. Versus like maybe if I were dating another Asian guy, or like he would know like because he went through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The reverse of this. So we both have preferences for, I guess, white men, but when a white man has a preference for Asian females, we immediately bounce to the, oh, he has yellow fever or he is fetishizing Asian women. Like, why doesn't it go both ways?
Good question. Well, I feel like a little bit of it does go both ways. Like, you know how Asians always think like lighter skin it means you're more attractive? Like everyone
Mhm.
aspires to have light skin, so immediately when they see a white guy, they think he's attractive. Um, yeah. So I feel like it does kind of go both ways. Um, but when yeah, you're right. When a white guy does like an Asian girl, hmm, I guess it's like I don't know. Why is it? Why do we see it like a fetish? Do you have an answer?
No, I just
I
thought it was an interesting.
well, okay. So when I see white guys who are like really into like Japanese culture and they only
Mhm.
date like Asian girls, that's when I'm like, ugh. Like, do you actually like? That's great that you're really into the culture, but my first thought is, oh God, he doesn't even. He likes the idea of her. He doesn't like being with her if he's just so like immersed in this culture or like the idea of it. I don't know. But I guess that's a good point. Like, why do we see it as a fetish? Because I remember when me and Nick started dating, I had a couple friends ask me, like, do you think he has like an Asian fetish? And like I was kind of offended. I'm like, you think like a guy just likes me because it's a fetish? Like what? Like he can't just
Well,
like
you
me
also,
because I'm me? But I also do have to rule it out too. You're right.
because I do remember you asking him because his exes were Asian, or at least one of them was.
Yeah. Yeah. To this day, I still joke and ask him.
Yeah. I would, yeah, I feel like it's like shitty that they ask, but then it's also like, would I ask the same question to you? Where it's like, if you told me that all, like his exes, let's say, were all Asian, I'd be like,
I know, right?
"Ooh, yeah.
Or like when our friend's boyfriend was like, "Oh, you know, Jordan has like very diverse tastes." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "You know, he must be like pretty diverse to be like from where he is from and date Wanda." And I was like, "What? Are you just saying that because he's like very white and milky and Wanda is Asian? Like, you know Wanda has the confidence of a white man, right?"
White and milky.
You're white and milky too.
That is so gross, though. You don't like. Is that how you describe skin color, as milky?
That's how I imagine you and Jordan. Like immediately when I picture you both, you're both like very pale and white in my head.
Like a glass of milk?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
I don't know if I should take that as a compliment. I don't know how to
Like,
take
I
this
mean, you're just both
information.
very white. Like skin. Like you're both very skin color white.
Okay, thank you. It's neither a compliment
It's
or an
not, it's just a
insult, I
fact.
guess.
It's not a
Yeah,
compliment or
okay.
insult.
Okay, thank you.
I forgot what I was
Um,
saying. I just wanted to bring that up because it was funny.
okay. Something about the fact that you still can't roll out jokingly that Nick might
have an
But
Asian
like
guy.
Nick's not immersed in like I think okay, so maybe that's kind of like a line where it's like how immersed are they in,
Oh, I think
I
it's
guess.
like they have to like consume Asian media for one thing. Like
Hmm.
listen to K-pop, J-pop, read manga, watch anime. It's like one of their hobbies they're into. And they look to you. I think it's like the fetish. It's like where they look to you to maybe like fill in the blanks, or like maybe they want to learn more about the culture. Maybe they don't actually want to date you. They just really like the fact that you're Asian. I think that's like the fetish part. It's like they don't
Yeah.
like you as a person, just that you're Asian.
Hmm. But we still joke about the fetish, even
Yes.
though we like sometimes we don't know.
Yeah. I think I would never ask. I like to think I'd never ask, but I would definitely like look for signs. Like, so Jordan, what do you like to do in your spare time? Or like, Jordan, what's your favorite type of cuisine?
It's not Chinese food. Let me tell you that. um yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. And I feel like I have my in the past have brought it up like and I kind of feel bad for it now, I guess, where it's like if you were to tell me that someone you're seeing, like all their exes or some of their exes have been like Asian, I'd be like, do
Question
you
mark.
have any? Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's like a question mark. And I feel like I might ask the question where
Uh
it's
huh.
like, do you know for a fact that like it's because they like you? But I hope that it comes from like a place of because I care about you and I don't want you to be fetishized versus like, oh, you can't be liked for anything else other
Yeah.
than your Asianness.
Yeah. I guess like I will say I think the people who ask are like the people like us who grew up in like very white neighborhoods, cities, classmates kind of thing. Because I
Hmm.
think like we're the only ones who kind of see it, I guess. I guess because like growing up we were always like, "Oh, we're not the attractive ones." Like the white
Hmm.
girls are the attractive ones. We're like the ugly girls kind of thing. So I think it's kind of like is it making sure that you're okay? Is it internalized racism? You'll never know their intent.
Yeah. So I guess I will just never ask that question. And instead, I will prod
Mhm.
their significant other with, what are your hobbies? What do you like watching? What are your thoughts on like anime?
Yeah, exactly. Are you trying to learn Japanese or Korean right now?
Do you listen to K-pop, J-pop, baby rock,
What's
baby metal?
baby rock?
I don't know if baby rock's actually a thing, but I think baby metal's a thing.
What's
And it's
baby
very popular, I
metal?
think. It's like Japanese girls doing metal
Oh,
music.
it's very niche. Hmm.
But oh, I have two paths that I can take right now. The one path is like how do you feel about the fetishization of like Asian men because of the popularity of like BTS and
Hmm.
K-pop? And the other one is like what about the people that we grew up with that were Asian that didn't develop like an attraction to just white guys or like a preference for white guys?
I guess like my first thought is I feel kind of bad for the Asian guys because like you're right. I've seen like a lot of fan fiction and like memes kind of come out where girls like only want to date a Korean guy for some reason. Um,
Hmm.
And yeah, I feel like that's kind of yucky too. It's always like the white girls who kind of want to date the Korean guy. Yeah, I feel like
And
that's kind
is
of
that a
yucky.
fetish?
Yes. Like they don't actually find them attractive, but they're kind of like bandwagoning because they're like, oh my god, you're Korean like BTS.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of weird. It's like you wouldn't do that for a white artist, you know? Like I'm like, oh my god, you're white like Justin Bieber. I have to date you.
I mean, like a lot of guys got the Justin Bieber haircut or like had the Justin Bieber haircut.
Yeah. That look
That
was
might have been a
never great.
coincidence, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still. I feel like it
Yeah.
just like wouldn't go the same. Like, oh my god, I have to date you because you have this haircut. Not like I have to date you
Hmm.
because you're Korean. That's different.
Yeah.
So the poor Korean guys.
But also on the flip side of that, I know that like Asian men for a long time have struggled to be seen as like hot versus just like cute or like as someone that I wouldn't really date because not me, like the royal, I guess, we wouldn't
Yeah.
date kind of thing.
Hmm.
um so now it's kind of like because of the popularity of like BTS and like we're seeing more like Asian males being the leading man in like rom-coms and things like that, like I think their attractiveness or like their ability to be hot is like growing and becoming more well accepted.
Yeah, for sure. And my friend too, like, brought up an interesting point when we were kind of on this topic. She was like, Asian guys have struggled because they're a little more feminine. Not like actually feminine, but they're definitely like, on the stereotype side, like they're more skinny, like they care more about like cleanliness, like their clothes and stuff. Not all Asian guys, obviously, but it's just like they don't resemble like what the Western hotness is, like muscly abs, like very dominant kind of thing. And that's like, I don't know, Western media like pushing stuff on us. So Asian guys have always been put in the back burner. And then when you do see like a very, and now because of like, I don't know, better representation of Asian guys, now when you see like an attractive, tall, buff Asian guy, like my friend has said, like, all these girls will be flocking to them because this is the guy that they want. They finally found, I don't know, like their ideal type in an Asian guy, and this is who they want. And then he ends up being a dick. He has all these girls flocking around him. I don't know how true that is. It could be. It feels like her very like targeted experience because she went to Western University. So I don't
Mm,
know.
yeah. it's it's hard to say because it's like why is just being fit kind of hot, like there people like feminine guys, like metrosexuality is like a thing, there's like edgy guys and like people who are more I guess into like the edgy scene tend to be more skinny and less fit kind of thing, so it's like there's a spectrum of like it, I guess it's like you don't need to be a fit buff Asian guy to be considered attractive, I guess, in the first place. I
Yeah.
think if you are, you might be considered to be, as Maggie said, conventionally attractive. And that might be why that like girls are flocking to you versus like, oh, you might be more of like a specific taste of like some people, but not others, because again, you're not considered conventionally attractive. I don't know. I there's a lot of issues I guess I find with like the mentality, but I just don't really know why I find issues with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder too if another thing is like puberty, because I guess like Asian, or just not even Asian, just girls in general will just like go through puberty sooner. Like they'll glow up sooner. Like they know how to better dress, take care of themselves, that kind of thing. And maybe guys are just more delayed, so it takes them a really long time to have their glow up.
Like it depends what they want, I guess.
I feel like my brother and even my boyfriend, they both took a long time to find the style that suits them. I think like into their 20s was when they started to like know how to dress, know how to do better stuff. So maybe like that's why. And by the time they figure it out, it might be too late. I mean, I hope not it's too late, but maybe like that's where their whole like Asian guys are not hot thing comes from. Maybe. I don't know.
I think it's mostly like a kind of like a media thing where it's like you never really
Mm.
saw Asian men as attractive and then they were kind of just stereotyped as people that were more feminine, I guess.
Yeah.
So
That's a,
girls were like, "Ooh, I don't want feminine men."
that's a good point. Like Asian girls growing up, we had Lucy Liu. Who did the Asian guys have who was like Asian whitewashed? I don't know. I was gonna say Jackie Chan, but he's not really like American.
Yeah, I also wouldn't say he was like attractive.
Yeah. They had no one supporting them. Sorry, Asian guys.
Yeah, that's
Now
kind
you
of yeah, that's interesting. I forgot about Lucy Liu.
now they have Simu Liu.
And I wouldn't even say that Simo was like conventionally attractive.
I think he's just like
Like,
muscly and like
yeah,
tall. I think that's what
yeah.
adds to the conventional attractive. That goes to prove
Yeah.
Wanda's theory from a few episodes back. If you work out and you're kind of buff, you're automatically attractive.
You're
Or
definitely more attractive than
yeah, not you're automatically attractive, but you can't be ugly. I think was what your theory
yeah.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think about that a
I think
lot.
there's a yeah, I think there's a few other things where it's like get a good haircut, know how to dress kind of
Hmm.
thing, and it's like instantly your like attractiveness will just like skyrocket even if you are not like you weren't born to be like conventionally attractive. Like you
Hmm.
weren't born to look like Chris Evans, for example.
Shame.
Or yeah, yeah. If okay, to be fair, if everyone was born to look like Chris Evans would not be as attractive.
Yeah.
I would just be a baseline average.
Yeah.
Um, so what about I guess like kind of the other side of the people who did grow up with us, very similar childhoods, but didn't end up having the same preferences that we do. What about them?
I feel like that's okay too. I know my brother definitely has a preference for Asian girls.
Yeah. And a lot of the our like female friends that we had in high school also have a preference for Asian guys.
Yeah. I do like wonder what it is. Like because we had very similar like upbringings, like same not same crushes, I think. Maybe that's what it is. We never had the same crushes. And I think like growing up they had a bit more diversity.
In their crushes.
I think so.
There was one Asian guy in my middle school, and he was an absolute douchebag.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had like one Asian guy too in my middle school, and I did not find him attractive. And I hated him because everyone kept being like, Maggie must like him because he's the only Asian guy.
Oh my God. Which is kind of weird. Wait, did your friends come later?
Yeah.
Like, were you just
Yeah.
okay?
Well, but for some reason, like they would only say it to me. Like Sally was still there, but they never said it to
Oh,
her. So I was like,
that's so
huh.
weird.
Well, they said Maggie likes him because he's Vietnamese and Maggie's Vietnamese.
Ah,
And I was like, is this racial coupling?
good for them for correctly identifying what type of
I know.
Asian
At
you
least
were
if you're gonna
kind of
be
thinking.
racist, you knew the background.
Yeah, I had that too, where I was the only Asian girl, he was the only Asian guy, and everyone was like, you have to like each other, right? Like, you have to date, right? Because it's like you're both Asian. We hated each other. He absolutely hated me, and I think I've talked about this before, and I wonder if it's because he, like, everyone pushed so hard that,
For
like, we
sure.
had to like each
Mm-hmm.
other that he kind of just, like, went the opposite direction. But he was, mm, I I can remember his face so vividly and how big of a dick he was that it's just like it triggers me even now to think about it.
Mm, yeah. I do not blame either of you.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
wonder who he's dating slash married to now at this point.
Do you think our like the people we know who are dating Asian guys, do you think they're whitewashed?
Yes, but I also think what my theory was that they just consumed more Asian media, I think, growing up
Mm,
than we might have.
yeah.
So, like, we watched more like dramas based out of Asia,
Mm,
music based out of Asia. So then it kind of like that kind of overrode their type or like their upbringing in a way. And that was kind of just how they developed their preference versus like I think we consumed more traditional Western media growing up because we have so many TV shows we have in common. And I do know that both of us have been through like phases of watching more like K dramas or listening to like K pop and things like that, but it was never as sticky as Western music and Western dramas.
yeah, that's actually a really good point. Because, yeah, my younger brother, he watches a lot of anime and reads a lot of manga and listens to a lot of J pop. So I guess this makes sense.
There I think about this moment because I was telling Jordan about this where I when I was younger, I opened or like I borrowed this manga book from the library and I was like so excited because I was really into art back then and I thought the graphics were really cool. And I tried to open it up like a normal book and I tried to read it and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I how do I even read this? And then I ended up returning it, never having read that. But that could have been my fork in the road to
Mhm. Mhm.
who I like. I could have been a completely different person if I figured out that you're supposed to read it from right to left.
Mhm.
Left, yeah,
That's yeah.
the opposite way.
Yes. That's so funny. I think I remember my first manga book was in conspiracy comics, and like a white person told me how to read manga.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they told me because I didn't know how.
Yeah. But now they have like I was like the reason I brought this up was because I saw an advertisement for like at an Indigo or some like bookstore or something that was like on mangas you read this way to this way and I was like wow if I had that as a kid that could have been like so instrumental to changing who I was.
Hmm. It's funny
Yeah.
because Nick's friends are like really into manga, anime, and Nick is like not. And like
Hmm.
he went shopping with them, he somehow got peer pressured into buying his first manga book. Um, and I remember my brother was really into that one, and I was telling Nick like you're not gonna like that one. It's like a little bit scary. It's like a thriller. Like I just don't see you liking this. And he said, no, 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 it's
Hmm.
okay. That's why I bought it. I'm gonna keep it. And I remember the day he read it. He sat down on the bed and was reading it for 2 minutes and then stopped. And I was like, oh, like you're not gonna read anymore? And he was like, no, I do not like reading, even if it's mostly pictures.
Wait, what?
So that was his fork in the road.
I thought it was gonna be like, oh Maggie, you're right. I don't really like thrillers. Not I
Nope.
don't like read.
Yep, he did 5 pages of it. He didn't even get to the gory part.
That is so funny, but I understand him completely because I also have trouble reading recently.
Hmm.
But like this episode, we kind of talked a lot about like our experiences, I guess, as like Asian females and also kind of like experiences like with Asian men kind of thing. And it's like we understand that there's a lot of like other races that we did not touch on, but I also don't feel like we have enough background, education, experience to be able to talk about them properly, I guess.
Yeah,
So that is why we skipped that.
because we already know we're gonna get canceled, but we want to get canceled for the right reason.
I don't think we said anything that like I would think is like super controversial.
Yeah, we should have more of our friends on, our people of color friends, to talk about their experiences.
Why is it that like the entirety or like half of this podcast, I was just thinking, I was like, man, I wish we had like one of our friends on that has like a different type or preference than we do because like it really would balance it out a lot better.
It would. Too bad we share one brain cell. So like all the people we are interested or have a Venn diagram. Like we had like different
Yeah.
preferences, like still white guy, but like different preferences in a white guy.
Yeah. But it's like again, not very diverse. But any final thoughts before we leave today?
Love everyone. And if you happen to love someone more, that's okay.
I mean, I hope you have one more. You do have a family, you do have a boyfriend, and you do
Yeah,
have friends.
exactly. And they're not all white.
Oh my goodness. What I didn't like, what I've thought about a lot, and this is, I guess, my concluding thought it's all of my friends are Asian, but why is my type in men white?
Yeah, I've thought about this too. Like, why don't I have any white friends who I hang out with on a daily basis other than Nick?
Yeah. So, because I feel like I'm friends with you because I relate most to you and you have a lot of the same shared experiences that I had growing up. But why would I not want that in a partner?
I
Or
think
like, why would I not?
most of our friends are pretty whitewashed.
Yeah, but also you understand the things that I had went through as a child. Like
You
you know what it's
complete
like.
me.
I digress.
I get it.
Okay, cool. Thanks for listening to another episode. Go like us and follow us on social media, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And go listen to us and like us wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And join us again next Thursday for another episode of Apologetically Me, unless we get canceled.
Bye.
Bye.